Are you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via live stream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbprou.com.
Good evening and welcome back to Leadership Live at 8:05. I'm your host, Andrew Frazier, and once again, it's great to hang out with you on Tuesday nights. As always, we have a great guest. Always like to meet new people and learn from people who have expertise in different areas of business. As you know, your business can only go as far as you're prepared to take it. So at the end of the day, it's critical to develop your leadership skills and your knowledge. And that's the reason why we do Leadership Live at 8:05 for you. So always appreciate everybody tuning in. Also always appreciate comments, questions as we go along, and, come with us along today's journey, and, really looking forward to it. The topic tonight is focus more, work less. It's always important to focus on what you're doing, but as a business owner, sometimes you're just so busy. It's hard to focus because there's so many things you need to get done, and you can't do them all. But by focusing, it allows you to make sure you take advantage and take care of the most important, the most impactful things for you and for your business. So that's really what we're going to be talking about tonight. So hopefully you'll be excited about joining us. I've got Chad Brown here. And that's really what he does, working with people and helping people to really focus on what's most important. So I want to bring him on now. Hey, Chad, how you doing tonight?
I'm so good, Andrew. I'm excited to be here, man. I love the intro video. I love this whole experience. This is really cool.
Okay, excellent. So I'm glad to have you here. Taking time out of your busy schedule to really share your expertise with other entrepreneurs and business owners who are coming along in their journey. So definitely look forward to our conversation this evening.
I'm happy to be here, man. Happy to share whatever I can.
Excellent. So, what we want to do is, we know each other, but the audience doesn't know you. So why don't we take a few minutes to really talk a little bit about your journey, how you got to where you are, and a little bit about where you are now. Sound good?
Absolutely. And I'm so excited also to see people commenting. I do so many of these podcast recordings, and it's always feels a little bit empty because it's just the two of us and we don't know. I love seeing faces start to show up. So that gives me a lot of energy. Andrew, the way that I tell my story really is a series of failures.
Okay.
Hands down. That's the best way for me to talk about the way that I've gotten to where I am today is I have failed my way here. And that's actually been an incredible experience that I wouldn't have it any other way. So I start pretty early on. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. My dad was a failing entrepreneur perpetually. He worked so hard. He hung drywall. He was a general contractor, and he never could figure out how to both be a technician of his craft and also grow a business or even maintain a business that was profitable. So I got to see firsthand what it's like to grow up as a kid and always be wondering, are we actually going to take the trip to Disneyland that we talked about, or is it just going to be another bad month? And that really started me thinking about how I didn't want to live that way. So it really early on, but I always knew that I wanted to create something. I always knew that I wanted to run something, influence people. I loved leading throughout my childhood in sports, in clubs, all of that sort of stuff. I was always seeking that leadership role. How do I make an impact? How do I connect to people in a meaningful way? Fast forward a little bit, and I created a real estate investing company when I was 21 years old. What I did is I took real estate investors and compared them up with properties. And that went pretty well for a little while until what happened in 2007, 2008, 2009. We had this incredible bubble where everybody was supposedly making all kinds of money in real estate. And it seemed like overnight the bubble burst. At that moment, I was sitting on about 40, I don't remember the exact number, but I was sitting on about 48 properties with investors, some of them condo conversions, some of them new construction. The average value of those properties was about $500,000. And literally, when I say overnight, I feel like the way that I remember it, I woke up the next morning and all of those values were at least chopped in half, if not more. That's my first big failure. I was undereducated, over leveraged. I had no idea what I was doing, and we lost everything. So here I am, pretty young, two young kids. Well, one young kid, one on the way, and wondering what my next step was. At that point, I decided that I wanted to. I've always been a creative person. Figured out that I loved creating film, creating videos. In high school, I was president of high school film club, and I decided that I was going to dip my toe into what it would be like to create assets, create media for companies or for people. So I did that, moved out to Southern California. Whenever I do something, Andrew, I do it big. I don't know how to ease into it. So moved my small young family down to Southern California, everything that we could fit into the Scion XB that we bought for cash, moved down there with no money and just an idea. And I quickly grew that business to be a pretty significant business in about the time of 2 years. Now, what was interesting about how I grew that business, it was the timing was perfect. Both technology was accessible, more accessible than usual, and the advent of social media. Both of those two things, and the moment that I got into the business was this perfect storm of success. Everybody wanted what we were offering because they needed content for social media, and we could do it at a really good price because of how accessible the equipment was and labor, and people were starting to look away from some of the bigger firms. So we grew really fast. Now, in that growth came my next big lesson. I allowed that business to completely take over my life. All under the lie that I was doing it for my family. So at this point, I'm traveling about well over 300 days out of the year. We're doing contracts for Volkswagen, Pixar Animation Studios, Netflix. We got all these big brands, and I'm starting to speak from stage and talk and coach other media company owners on how to grow their businesses. And so a lot of ego inflation started to happen, and I was, becoming a big shot in the industry. And all of that, through a couple of different circumstances, all of that came to a head in a moment where I realized that I had sacrificed my family. I'd sacrificed the thing that was most important to me for this thing that seemed to take on a life of its own and completely dominate my experience. And through those circumstances, there was a few things, I won't go into them, and I realized that this was not sustainable. Not only was it not sustainable, it was not the life that I wanted to live. I told myself I was a family man. In fact, in this moment when I realized it, I sought a business coach to come and help me. And honestly, I thought the business coach was going to help me implement some systems and help me delegate and, all of that sort of stuff. And he did. But the most important thing that he did was in one of our first conversations, I told him, I'm a family man. It's the most important thing to me. And he looked me in the eyes and he said, Chad, you're lying to yourself. And until you stop lying to yourself, you will repeat this pattern. And that was the most transformational moment. That was the most generous thing that he could have done for me in that moment, was to show me how I was lying to myself about where my focus was and what was actually important to me. That took me down a journey of turning that business around, meaning my involvement in it. It was already successful, but learning to delegate, learning to trust people, learning to lead them in a meaningful way that they could take the baton and produce something that was powerful for our clients while I could spend time with my family. Over those years, discovering that was one of the greatest, it was the greatest experiment of my life. And that's when I decided I want to help others do the same thing. So since then, I've been working with entrepreneurs, small business owners, a lot in the creative space where I came from, to do the exact same thing in their business, to buy back their time, to hone their focus, and to create something that actually gives them what they want rather than what they say that they want.
Okay, excellent. So we got a lot of great things to talk about tonight.
Yes, we do.
And actually more in common than I expected. So this will be really good. But before we get started, we do this through the Small Business Pro University, and it's important to share what the Small Business Pro University is and how we really make a difference for a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, through the university. Many small businesses experience low or no revenue growth, and the owners are not making enough money. I founded the Small Business Pro University to help business owners break that cycle by empowering them with greater knowledge and enhanced skills to lead their companies more effectively. Over the past 15 years, I've worked one-on-one with more than 1,000 business owners and taught tens of thousands of people about business. My experience includes serving as a Navy officer, graduating from MIT, earning an MBA from NYU, and achieving the CFA designation. Small Business Pro University empowers entrepreneurs like you to run their businesses more professionally and create sustainable enterprises. Small Business Pro University provides access to valuable resources, partnerships, and relationships that will help you to grow revenue, increase profit, and obtain financing faster and easier. Our Masterpreneur initiatives include more than 100 expert-led multimedia courses and training programs with more than 2,500 lessons. The Small Business Pro Network, our private community for entrepreneurs. Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, our weekly live stream and podcast. Advanced Learning Institutes, focused on revenue generation, profit maximization, and capital acquisition. And the Power Breakfast series, in-person events where business owners learn best practices, enjoy great networking, and gain useful knowledge. If you want to sell more and make more, you need to check out Small Business Pro University. Visit our website at www.sbprou.com. All right, welcome back. I'm here with Chad Brown, and he's talked about, failing his way to success. And, one of the things that I've heard and I think rings fairly true for a lot of people is you tend to not really be successful until your third business. So it's important to fail quickly so that you can learn what you need to do to be able to succeed in business. I see your smile, so I think you can, that resonates with you on a certain level. So, you got into real estate. Where was your real estate?
It was all in Utah.
Okay. All right. Well, I feel your pain because all my real estate was in Florida.
Yeah.
Which was worse. But we're still here. So
yeah. Well, there's some lingering PSTD or PTSD for sure. But man, I learned some incredible, powerful lessons that I experienced. I wouldn't trade it.
Yeah. Well, and I'm still like chair of a condo board at a place that I don't even own the property anymore. But because no one else would take it. So, but yeah, no, you learn a lot through adversity. I mean, it's incredible. Making it through. And you probably had a team and you work with other people as well.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about kind of, how you developed and what are some of the key things that you developed out of that experience.
Yeah, that experience taught me a few different things. First is do your research. And do your research. Not only, I mean, I'm not saying everything that happened in that economic time could be predictable, but there is the other side of that is listen to your gut. There was something inside of me, especially as 2008 started to roll off. There was something inside of me that said, something's not right here. These prices seem too inflated. It seems like people are getting money a little bit too easy. And this is like with my very limited experience in the realm of real estate. I could tell, I could sense something was off. So that's the second thing. Do your research, listen to your gut. Third lesson that I learned from this is look to those who have been there before. There was a little Italian man by the name of Otto, and we rented our office space from Otto. And Otto was a real estate baron. He was brilliant. He basically was a developer. He would buy farmland and he would subdivide it into residential developments, and then he would sell off the lots. And he had done this over and over and over again, and he'd been real successful in it. Otto was also a restaurant owner. He owned a restaurant called Ottavio's. It was the best Italian restaurant in the downtown Provo area. And we rented our offices from him. Well, we found out in this adventure, as we opened up our business and we were buying up all of these properties, we found out that Otto was a developer. So naturally, I went to Otto and I said, Otto, can I buy some of your properties? I'd love to build some houses on them and build some spec homes and sell them off. And can we do this? And he was very gracious. The negotiations went well. And I remember we were getting ready to go into closing. And Otto looked at me and he said, something's not right. And you need to get out of these properties as fast as you can. He said, build them well, but build them fast and get out. And of course, I was young. I'm like, oh yeah, old man Otto, thanks for the properties, man, but I got this. And didn't really take a lot of heed to what he was saying. And in fact, he was so generous. I could have dug in deeper. I could have asked him, hey, what do you see, man? What's going on? What would you do? How would you do this? There was so much value there that I'm sure he would have been willing to mentor me, but I was too prideful. I was too much in a hurry. I wanted to look good in front of him at what I thought looked good, right? Competent, confident, all of that sort of stuff. And so I didn't investigate. I didn't dig in deeper, and I continued to buy more and more, acquire more and more properties. And that's how we got into the position that we were. When the fall happened, we were about 80% done building the houses on the properties that we had bought from Otto. And he checked in on us after that, just said, "Hey man, are you guys okay? What's going on?" And at this point, we knew it was pretty dismal. And so it was that moment of like, there was an opportunity there for me. Wish I would have taken it. So those are the main lessons I feel like I took away from that experience.
Okay. No, it's great. Definitely there's always clues,
Always.
it's just, are you seeing them and are you believing them?
Yes.
And that's where experience comes in. Like you said, talk to someone who's been through it. There were all kinds of people who were so-called real estate experts until things went bad, but
Right.
they had never really been through a bad cycle. So
Yeah.
they really didn't know what they were doing on a certain
That's right.
level.
That's right.
So no, definitely that.
One of the principles, along with what you're talking about, Andrew, I just want to add to it. One of the principles that I talk about is that the universe, the world, people are always giving you feedback. There's always feedback available. Like you said, there's always signs, or there's always something to look at. Now, what determines whether we can see the feedback or not is what our aim is. What we're aiming at determines the feedback that we're willing to see. So at the moment, my aim was to look like a big shot, to look like a successful entrepreneur that has my stuff together and I know what I'm up to. And that was my aim. So I couldn't see the feedback that the world and others were offering me. And so one of the things that I do with my clients is I want to get very clear with them, just like my coach did. I wanted to get very clear with them on what their aim is. What is it that you're currently focusing on? Now, this is going to bring it to the topic that we're talking about tonight. What are you currently focusing on that determines the feedback that you're willing to see or not see? Because we all have blind spots. You don't get to escape it. It's the human experience. Our brain is evidence-making machines. So what our brains have decided is true is what we're going to find evidence for. So what evidence are we looking for, and what evidence are we missing that could be the unlock to whatever it is you're looking for? Maybe that's more profit. Maybe that's more revenue. Maybe that's more freedom in your business, more time. There is evidence available to you for what the next step to take, but you don't see it because of your focus.
Okay, definitely. You talked about, in my first book, Running Your Small Business Like a Pro, the first chapter is how did I get here? Because a lot of times people lose focus on, why they're doing what they're doing, and, they're somewhere, but that may not be where they wanted to be or where they want to be, but, what took them there. Yeah. So, very, very critical. So you also talked about your second business and how you succeeded a lot. And, it seems like part of it was preparation meets opportunity. And part of the opportunity was the trends that were changing the marketplace. Can you talk about, did you see that coming, or was it an accident? And, how did how did that work for you? And how did you figure out how to really build your business at that time?
I think well, first I have to qualify. You called it successful. I need to put that into quotes, successful, because sure, revenue was great. Profit was good. Client base was great. Recognition was awesome. But there was a very key element of success missing. And that to me was actually ultimately failure. So I just want to add that caveat. I do know what you mean though by success is that the business was thriving. And your question is such a good question because I always believe that it's a bit of both. The question to me sounds like, was it luck, or was it on purpose? And I would say we had a lot of happy accidents. Look, losing everything, not that I wish that on anybody, but losing everything was one of the key elements to discovering what this business was about. So, is that lucky? I mean, yeah, it was for me in ways. Sorry, I'm just reading some of the comments that are popping up here. That's fun. So it was both. That's the best way that I can answer it. It was lucky that we hit the timing the way we did. We couldn't have owned a crystal ball to hit that timing. There's just no way. That was a happy accident. Now, did we work our tails off to take advantage of the luck? Absolutely. Did we notice nuances and opportunities that nobody else was noticing and took advantage of them? Absolutely. Did we work really, really hard to build the relationships that would be necessary to be able to even get in front of some of these large clients and these large brands? Yes, we did. So I always say, I mean, absolutely, it was a combination of both. There was a lot of really happy, lucky, happy luck in there. And we combined that with our determination and our really, really hard work.
Okay. No, definitely. Definitely. A lot of times it is a combination of things. Is that, leads to the results that you get. Sometimes better than other times. So, you talked about your coach that really shined a light on kind of how you were lying to yourself.
Yeah.
To put it, another way. And, I think that's important because, when you have a business, your business should benefit your life. Your life's not there to benefit your business.
Yeah.
But, a lot of people fall into that category.
Sure.
And at times with the business, you're going to have to sacrifice because it's like having a kid. When you have a kid, if they're sick, then, you got to tend to it. But, you're used to doing certain things. How did you get out of those habits and really be able to step back and focus on your family and other things the way you needed to? Because it's hard to break habits once you're used to stuff.
Oh, isn't that the truth? Something that you said, Andrew, really caught my attention. There's something that I say is never sacrifice without a focus. Never sacrifice without a focus. If you're going to choose to sacrifice something on the family side, or I won't say you, me, if I'm going to choose to sacrifice, let's say it's a ball game, or let's say it's dinner in the evening, something like that, I'm committed to that sacrifice never being something that's made by default or made by something that is running me. And what I mean by that is it has to be intentional, and I have to be able to point to the outcome or the result that thing that missing that thing will create. And I also have to be able to explain it to my family in a way. I have to be able to make the case that there isn't any other way to get that thing done. That's the promise that I've made to myself. Now, in making that promise, I have realized that there's a lot less that I actually need to sacrifice, because I can't make the case that I can't get it done either way. Well, there's resources available. Have I been willing to delegate? Have I been willing to simplify the process? Do I have a system in place that makes this more efficient so that it takes less of my time? You can kind of see where I'm going here. I put myself in a corner to actually have to make a case for sacrificing those things before I just decide to. That's something I've decided to do personally. It's something that I continually invite my clients into. So to answer your question, how do you change those patterns? Well, the way that you change any pattern, there's two key elements from my perspective. The first key element is vision. What is my vision? Now, we always have a vision, right? My vision for Shade Tree Films, which is the name of the company that we're talking about, when my default vision was grow this mother as fast as I possibly can and be as successful and make as much money as possibly can, because that's going to solve all of life's problems. That was my default vision before I knew that I could actually create a vision for it. And so that's the first step. That's the first thing my coach did with me is he said, look, you're operating at a default. You're in a reactive mode. This thing has its own life. It has you. It determines what action steps you take. Now we're going to flip the switch. We're going to turn the tables to where now you tell it where it's going with a vision and a clear vision, and that includes your business growth, your team, your leadership, and your family. So we developed that, and that always, not always. That aim or that vision is the most crucial part of changing a behavior. The second is that every habit has to be replaced by something else. It's human nature. It's the way we operate. So if you want to kick a habit, it's not enough to just say, I'm going to quit it. It needs to be replaced by something else that actually contributes to the vision that you say you want. So what we did is we went through a process, and this is the same sort of process. This is a crucial step in what I work with with my clients, is that with the new vision, what replaces the old behavior that gets us closer to what we say we want? So for me, instead of me being on every single production, hence traveling over 300 days out of the year, now I must replace that with who do I want to entrust? Who do I want to train? Who could do it better than me to be there? And that better than me was the unlock for me, is that, oh, just because I started this thing, just because I created this thing, doesn't mean I'm the best that could do it. And in fact, if I can bring someone on that's better than me, actually that's really beneficial, because it's not me doing it, and my business gets more successful, which is exactly what happened.
Okay. Excellent. No, definitely that makes a lot of sense. And, one thing is, many times business owners only know what they know.
Right on.
And that's one of the reasons we have something like that, to share a perspective, because, you couldn't have learned that unless you learned it from someone or you experienced it. But now, based on that, people can get a feel. And, one of the things I created that goes along with that, that's helped a lot of business owners and really set up my whole university around, is what I call the MREpreneur Playbook. And what it does is it lays out the 5 steps from startup to scaling. And there's a path that every business has to take, which is, okay, there we go. A path that every business has to take 5 steps. But to go through that path, you have to evolve as a business owner. So you can't take your business through that path if you aren't prepared to lead it. So, you have to evolve through 5 steps. And I think what you may have done is you sort of you moved up, but you kept what you had, where you should have, you have to bring someone up behind you. But then you learn how to do it. So, I think, like you said, you can't do everything. And there's people out here who could do things better than you. or if not, they can do it better. They have more time to focus on it than you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can, yeah, it's important to understand that. And, sometimes it's unnatural to really do that. So, you have to make yourself, or someone needs to help you understand how important that is. So
Yeah, it feels really unnatural, I would say, because this is your baby. Like, you compared it to a baby earlier. You created this thing. It came out of you. And the creative act, I think our potential to create is one of the greatest gifts that we have in this life. And when we're engaged in it, it becomes one of the most meaningful, or I'll even use the word sacred. And that has a lot of, people can interpret that a lot of different ways, but for me, it just means like phenomenal, like a phenomenon that we can't even really put our fingers on. But the ability to create drives connection, human connection, and purpose. And so if you have this thing that you created and you get so much purpose from it, it provides so much purpose for you. And then to look at this thing and go, somebody could do this little aspect of this thing better than me. And in fact, if they did, we would accelerate. That's a really unnatural way of thinking, because I created this. I need to be the best at it. I need to control it all. And in fact, that control, every creation has a moment of maturity where it needs to be let go. Every creation has a moment of maturity where it must be let go, at least pieces of it. When you ask any artist, any painter, any musician, they'll tell you that's created something really phenomenal. They'll tell you there was a moment that thing took on a life of its own. It was no longer me painting it. It was painting me. Mm-hmm. And there's that inflection moment. I love your model, man, because it's so powerful, because there's an inflection moment where you're no longer creating it. It is creating you, or the product or service that it is providing. And you need other people in that process. And by the way, if you do, it'll be so much more meaningful.
Definitely. So we're covering some great stuff here. We're going to take a quick break. For those of you who don't know, this is our 4th year of Leadership Live at 805 Talking Small Business. And we're going to celebrate later this month, sort of what, some of the accomplishments and some of the great people that we've had on here. So here's a little bit about what we're going to do. What significant business developments have occurred over the last 4 years? The advent of AI for mainstream use, interest rates increasing by more than 5%, and the rise of the virtual office and the gig economy. But most importantly, over 200 episodes of Leadership Live at 805, Talking Small Business, have aired. These episodes have shared a trove of valuable knowledge for entrepreneurs on how they can sell more, maximize profit, and finance growth faster and easier. To commemorate this milestone, we're having a special live stream episode on October 29th, highlighting the best of last year, along with special guests and giveaways. You don't want to miss it. Join us on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube to participate live at 8:05 Eastern on Tuesday, October 29th. Okay. All right. Welcome back to Leadership Live. I'm here with Chad Brown, talking small business. We've been talking about focusing more to work less. I think that, one of the powerful things you said was, to break a habit, you have to replace it with something. And, I guess that's what like Nicorette is. You can't just stop smoking, but you got to do something. So Nicorette sort of is the replacement. And actually, I had a client who want to go from step 3 to step 4, being a manager to being an executive, you have to stop telling people what to do, and you have to coach your managers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really difficult because you know what people need to do, and you're used to telling them what to do. So, I always say, you're not allowed to tell people what to do. All you can do is ask questions, because that's sort of the coaching side. So he put a question mark on his wrist just to help him remind about asking questions. So sometimes you got to do something to replace it and remind yourself, because you're used to certain things. You talked about vision. And, what I've found is, early on in business, everybody like, oh, you got to have a vision, you got to have a mission. You're like, all right, whatever, but the longer you're in business and the longer you do things, you see it a different way. Can you talk a little bit about kind of what a mission and vision really means to you in your business, and sort of how you arrived at, where you are now on that, because you probably started somewhere else.
Yeah, right. Well, it's interesting, right? The way that these things evolve, the way I talk about a mission is the dent that we're going to make in the world. This is the purpose and the reason we exist as a company or a product or service that we're providing. So it's big picture. It's something to believe in. Vision is what we're going to do about it in the next, in a given amount of time. I usually invite people to not set visions longer than 2 years. And these are specific, measurable things that we can check in on. I think this journey with vision that I so relate to what you're talking about, Andrew, because when you start your business and you're a solopreneur, or maybe you're just a partnership, or maybe you've got 1 or 2 employees, in that moment, it's all that's in front of your face is the work. It's like right here, right in front of your face, because the work needs to be done. And you've got to create some results. You've got to create some income and some revenue. And you're testing things, and you're failing a lot, and you're learning a lot of lessons. And that's all in getting your hands dirty. And the vision really lives inside of you. The vision is really like so reactive. It's so like, we just got to get this thing off the ground. We got to get this thing profitable. We got to get this thing successful. And then what happens is you get some revenue in, and you start to get some clients or some customers, more than you can handle alone, or more than you can handle with the little tiny team that you launched with. And then all of a sudden you're going to need more. You need more people involved in delivering the thing that you say, the thing that you promise to people that you're going to deliver. So then what happens is you start getting a bunch of people in there, but they have their own visions. They have their own reasons and their own purposes for being there. It's to pay the bills. It's to have a job. It's to, this thing or that thing. They're all, the purpose and the reason for somebody working for you is as unique as the human being. So what happens is it's like cats all over the place, and they all have their own purpose. And remember, their aim is determining what they see, the evidence and the feedback that they see. So they're missing a whole lot of things. So what happens at that moment is, if we're paying attention, what we realize is that our job as the founder of this experience is to enroll people into a vision and a mission that they can believe in. Now, what makes somebody believe in your mission or vision? That's a really meaningful question to be asking yourself. If I could leave you with a single question, it would be that. Is what do you think makes people want to believe and buy into your vision and mission? From my experience, the only reason that people will buy into my vision and mission is if I can show them how my vision and mission will get them closer to theirs. Whatever their purpose in life is, whatever is meaningful to them. If our vision and our mission of a company can contribute to that, then they will own my mission and vision the same way that I will, because they see how it's going to create what they want, right? And so that's why it becomes, my opinion, that's why it becomes such a different experience to have a mission and vision, and actually so incredibly crucial and vital to the success of your business and the success of your team, is because without that, nobody has something to believe in. So they all have their own scattered purpose for being there. And then that creates chaos. It creates disorganization. It creates high turnover. All of the things that we're struggling with as small businesses, if we don't have that vision and that mission clear, then that's what happens. So yes, it absolutely shifts at some point, because now not is it just you in your head knowing where you're going. Now you've got to enroll people into it in a really meaningful way. And in order to do that, you have to understand it and believe it yourself.
Okay. I mean, definitely. I think the way you shared that is great, because I think that I haven't heard it shared that way, but I think that is so important, and it is critical for business owners to manage their culture.
Mm-hmm.
And many of them don't even know what a culture is, or that's their responsibility. But that's really incorporating the mission and vision throughout the organization. And I, like you said, the herding cats, if you don't, somebody else's mission and vision, or everybody else's, and it's going to be confusing.
That's right.
So I think that's so important. Now, it's easier said than done.
Sure.
So, you
As
can
with
say,
everything
you
in
can do
business.
this, but, a lot of people can say that, but not a lot of people can actually help you do that. So how do you help people do that successfully?
It's getting specific first. I will tell you, 99% of the people who come into my program, their vision is not clear. It's not specific. And without the specificity, without the clarity, nobody can see it, including you. So it doesn't even drive your decisions. So we work on getting very clear and very, very specific about what it is that we're up to. What are we aiming at? How would we know if we got there? And me as a stranger, this is the beauty of an outside perspective in this process of vision, because me as an outside perspective, I could look at it and go, I always ask the question, whenever I look at somebody's vision for their business, I ask myself the question, whatever time frame they put on it, 18 months or 24 months, whatever that is, I ask myself this question: in 24 months, could I look at where they're at and be able to determine whether or not they got it? Would I be able, as an outside perspective, be able to look at it without asking many questions, and likely or ideally zero questions, without asking any questions? Would I be able to look at them, their business, and their team, and determine whether or not they achieved the vision or not? That's how we know it's specific enough. The other prompt that I give people is the vision has to be so clear, it's as if we're talking about yesterday. You can describe to me, Andrew, yesterday in detail what you did, what you accomplished, who you talked to, how you spent your time, all of that sort of stuff. A vision that clear is something you can sell to people, and they can believe it because they can see the reality of it, and then they can connect it to their own personal vested interest. So that's the first step. I wouldn't even go beyond that in this conversation. Anybody listen to this, I would just invite you first, go look at the specificity that either is or isn't in your vision, and get it more specific, get it more clear. And then once the clarity happens, the selling it to others becomes pretty natural.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. One other thing many entrepreneurs and business owners have to remember is, we're very different than most people. Many of us have like ADD, and can see the future and can look at stuff, whereas some people, you have to put the future in their hand for them to understand it. One thing that taught me a lot was I did an addition on my house, and I drew up the plans, and I'd show it to people, and they'd be like, "Oh, that's nice," and I could see it 100%, and then they're like, "Oh man, this is really nice." When it was finished, I was like, "Well, you saw it in the picture." They're like, "Yeah." So, so it's definitely, you have to describe it even better than what you need to be described for you to understand, because people are very different,
and it's something that needs to be visited often. It's not a one and done conversation. And by the way, most conversations with your team is not a one and done conversation. I get clients all the time that said, "Hey, we've had this conversation so many times," and I say, "Well, first, let's get clear. Is there an accountability issue? If there's not an accountability issue, if people are showing up accountable to what they're responsible for, then this is the natural flow of conversation. This is the natural, not the natural flow of conversation. This is the natural relationship between leader and teammate, is that these conversations need to be visited over and over and over and over again. Because you're a small business, things move at the speed of light. You got to be super flexible. So you're checking in on it to make sure it's still valid. It's still the thing that we're up to. And second, people just need that reassurance. They need that repetitiveness. They need that grounding, that solidifying that says, yeah, this is what we're still up to. It's the same reason we read self-help. It's the same reason we look for motivation, because we need it too. We need somebody to say, look, you can still go after your dreams. It's cool. And we're like, all right, great. I got it. All right, let's go. Right. So I just want people, I don't want anybody to think that something's broken in their communication or their culture if this is a conversation that they're consistently having.
Yeah. And definitely, you as a business owner, a lot of business owners are all over the place, but then your organization is going to be all over the place.
Yeah.
But the more consistent you can be, the easier it is for people to follow you. And one thing I do a lot of is help people with their key performance indicators.
Yes.
And we meet and go through them every week. So like you said, repetitive, we go through the same things. This is our goal. Did we meet our goal this week? If not, why? And it gets everybody on the same page. So definitely what you're saying is hugely valuable within an organization. So now when you're first meeting up with someone that you're going to work with, what's the first thing you do with them?
Well, very much. I love that the first chapter of your book is how did I get here? Because the first chapter of my program, the first chapter of our working together is, what is current reality? Now, sorry, entrepreneurs that are listening to this, the majority of you are not living in current reality. And here's how I know that. Maybe some of you are. Maybe, actually, Andrew, you probably have a really smart audience. I know most, I would say 90% of the entrepreneurs that I meet with, small business owners that I meet with, are not living in current reality, and I can show them how they're not. I asked them for five key data points or metrics around their business, and rarely can any small business owner tell me what those data points are for their business, like to date. And that tells me you don't actually know what's going on in your business. And this is the foundation for everything that we're going to do together going forward. We cannot get there without understanding where we are now. I relate this to a road trip because I think it's pretty relatable to most people. If you are if you think you're in San Francisco and you're trying to get to New York, but you're actually in San Antonio, but you act as if you're in San Francisco, you're never going to get to New York because you don't know current reality. You don't know where you are. You don't know what turns you're going to have to make in order to get there. Just like if you don't know the basic metrics that build your business, you don't know what levers to pull in order to get to where you say you want to go. And you'll spend a whole lot of time. You might get there by accident. That's cool. Some people do that. It's really expensive and it takes a lot of time. But you're gonna waste so much energy trying to get there, and you don't understand where you are. So that is the very first thing that we do.
So level setting, because facts matter.
That's exactly right.
And actually, one of the first things I do is, I talk to them about their financial statements because, those are the facts. And the third chapter of my book is called "What is My Greatest Fear?" Because most business owners are afraid of numbers and analysis. So, they have no idea. They don't want to know.
Yeah.
And, as a result, they really don't understand what's going on with their business, but they're making qualitative decisions without quantitative verification.
That's right.
Which, is a recipe for problems, like you said.
Yeah.
So no, definitely, those are key things. The only bad thing about the show is an hour goes really fast.
Yeah, it does. This is fun.
I always enjoy it. There's always so much more, but every show there's a lot of value that comes out of it. You shared a lot of things that could be very helpful, that are very helpful based on what we're hearing from the audience. And by the way, I appreciate everybody's comments and questions and joining us. So one of the key things that's important is, most people can't remember more than 3 things.
Yep.
So as a result, what I ask everybody is to share the 3 key things that people should take away from our conversation tonight that they can put to work immediately tomorrow to help them be more successful about what they're doing. So I'll give you a minute to sort of think about those. I'll share a commercial about something exciting that we have coming up that we're going to be launching. And then we'll be back with Chad Brown talking small business. Hi, I'm Andrew Frazier, founder of Small Business Pro University. Hi, I'm Andrew Frazier, founder of Small Business Pro University. I've worked one-on-one with more than 1,000 diverse small business owners and taught tens of thousands of people about business. If you're looking to work on your business instead of in it, or to scale your business and take it to the next level, you need to join Small Business Pro University for a supportive community of like-minded entrepreneurs, business education on your terms, when, where, and how you prefer, live virtual training on critical topics by small business experts, and a directory of trusted service providers to assist you with your growth. We have 3 options that you can choose from: the MREpreneur Club for business owners who have achieved a certain level of success and are looking to scale, the Small Business Pro Growth Accelerator for business owners and future business owners who want to work on their business rather than in it, and our associate membership for those seeking to join the community, test drive some courses, and gain access to resources. To join, visit www.sbprou.com/membership to learn more about our membership options and select the tier that's most appropriate for your business. That's www.sbprou.com/membership. All right. Good evening. We're back here with Chad Brown talking small business. Before we close things out, I asked Chad to share three key things that you should take away from what we discussed this evening.
Yeah, I would say the first one that stuck out to me is if you're going to sacrifice something important for your business, don't sacrifice without focus. Understand why you're doing it, and be clear. Make a case for why it has to be done this way with this sacrifice. Number two, create a clear vision that's so actionable. Go right now, check your vision, see how clear it is. If you were to tell it to me and I were to look at it in 18 months, could I be able to tell without asking very many questions what exactly, or if you actually accomplished it? And third, I would say get an outside perspective. Don't do this alone. We didn't talk explicitly about coaching, but here and there we sprinkled it in here. And in my story about Otto, there was an opportunity for me to get an outside perspective and not do it alone, lean on the wisdom and experience of somebody else. And that would be probably my most important piece that we hit throughout, but not explicitly.
Excellent. So no, definitely appreciate you sharing that. So focus, clear vision and outside perspective. And really all three of those sort of come together in terms of really just knowing what you're doing, why you're doing it, and doing it the best way possible. So no, this has been great, Chad. I've enjoyed hanging out with you. Definitely, I'm sure people are going to want to follow up with you. So, that's one of the reasons we put your LinkedIn in the chat. So definitely feel free to reach out to Chad. Let's see, profile. There you go. Chad-Brown-Founder-Freedom. All right. So that's Chad's LinkedIn profile and it's in the chat. So you're welcome to. And then we've got his website as well, www.founder-freedom.com. And Chad, anything you want to share before we finish up?
No, I appreciate the opportunity. This has been fun. If you visit my website, there's an assessment that you can take. One of the things that I'm so dedicated to is helping entrepreneurs create a vehicle for freedom to choose how and when, or how you spend your time. There's an assessment on my website that you can take that uses 4 pillars of freedom, and you can answer a couple questions in a few minutes, and it will give you a score on each of those 4 pillars and some suggestions on where your score lands and what might be some opportunities for you to create more freedom in your business in that specific area. So that's a free offering to your audience, Andrew, for as a expression of gratitude for the opportunity and for the time. And I'm so grateful to get to do this with you.
Okay, no, great. And thank you as well. I know you're a busy guy, but definitely, for taking time out to share your knowledge. Very valuable. Please hang on. I'm going to close things out, but hang on and I'll catch up to you in a little bit. Okay. Once again, we had a great guest tonight. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Definitely, I hope you take what he says to heart because, those are definitely key things that I see as important. And I think over the next week, I'm going to revisit some of these as well because, business should be an iterative process and, you should always be revisiting what you're doing. So definitely, that's key. Each week we have a great guest. Next week, we're going to talk about scaling your business by leveraging systems, automation, and technology. We're going to be on the operations side. Our guest, Khadija Muhammad, she has an expertise in really using technology to be able to run your business more effectively. So looking forward to having her as a guest next week, and continuing to move forward with what with learning and opportunities. So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. And always remember, at the end of the day, the more that you know, the faster and more successfully your business is going to grow.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 8:05. Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.